Have you stood at a fast food drive-thru board lately, done the math in your head, and driven straight off? If so, you are far from alone. Australians quietly abandoned restaurant and takeaway dining in droves over the past year, cutting out tens of millions of out-of-home meals. You notice the shrinking burgers, 5-chip portions, and $16 combo meals, so you exercised your real power. You stopped showing up. Most fast food and casual dining chains responded to this ghost town effect by doing what corporate spreadsheets always do, squeezing the loyalists who stayed. But a handful of major chains actually read their sales reports, swallowed a dose of humble pie, and overhauled their menus, pricing, and portion sizes to lure you back. What these chains did to survive is currently shifting lunch prices nationwide, even at venues that refuse to admit it. By the time this investigation finishes, you will know exactly which fast food turnarounds are genuine, high-value fixes for your wallet, and which are clever marketing theatre designed to trick you into paying $8 for a bag of frozen reconstituted starch. You will discover the burger chain that got so desperate it published its secret recipes online for free, the steakhouse chain absorbing brutal beef inflation so your bill does not explode, and near the end, the Italian dining giant that took a massive risk by making its meal portions 20% larger while every competitor quietly carved away at yours. Before cross-examining these boardrooms, let us pull back the curtain on how the commercial food industry operates when it thinks you are not looking. When costs go up, a food executive has 3 levers: raise the sticker price, downgrade raw ingredients, or shrink portion sizes. For years, the Australian food industry relied on shrinkflation alongside ingredient substitution. Instead of charging an extra $2 for your favourite burger or pasta, they quietly swapped fresh Australian beef for frozen imported trimmings, replaced real butter with industrial palm oil, and instructed staff to use smaller scoops. It is the ultimate sleight of hand. The human brain is remarkably bad at detecting a 10% decrease in volume when a meal is arranged on a plate or wrapped in paper, but your stomach definitely notices an hour later when you are standing in front of your pantry looking for a snack. This corporate recipe downgrade relies heavily on ultra-processed architecture. To make cheap, thawed ingredients taste like actual food, industrial kitchens load up on sodium, liquid smoke, high fructose corn syrup, and chemical emulsifiers binding water to fat. It is the culinary equivalent of building a house out of wet cardboard and giving it a glossy coat of waterproof paint. It looks fine in the ad, but the structural integrity falls apart the moment you take a bite. Real kitchen labor, like hand-breading fresh chicken breast or slicing steaks from whole primal cuts on site, is the first thing cut when a board demands higher quarterly profit margins. They replace skilled line cooks with automated batch fryers and pre-cooked vacuum-sealed bags that just need dunking in hot water. When you buy a fast food meal or step into a casual dining chain, you are not just paying for calories. You pay for the massive overhead of national logistics, real estate leases, and multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns. When a corporate chain tells you a basic cheeseburger combo needs to cost $18 because of supply chain pressures, they bank on your ignorance. The actual food cost, what industry insiders call COGS, or cost of goods sold, for a standard fast food burger, fries, and soft drink, often sits at less than $2.50. The rest of your hard-earned cash funds lease payments, corporate bonuses, and slick TV commercials designed to gaslight you into thinking dry, machine-pressed patties are gourmet dining. The tipping point happened when the gap between takeaway prices and home-cooked meals became a chasm. Consumers hit a financial wall, realized they were getting thoroughly ripped off, and corporate balance sheets started bleeding out. That sudden drop in foot traffic forced an emergency strategy shift across the industry. Some brands panicked and tried covering up price gouging with fake value menus and tricky app-only coupons, while others realized the only way to survive was rebuilding their reputation from the kitchen up. To understand who gives you a fair deal for your hard-earned Australian dollar and who is just spitting on your shoes and telling you it is raining, we have to examine the evidence brand by brand. Let us dive straight into the docket of offender brands that pushed Aussie consumers past their limit, starting from corporate slip-ups and escalating to masterclasses in cost-cutting greed. Number 10 on our list is Hungry Jack's, the perennial underdog that loves positioning itself as the honest Aussie alternative to Macca's. Owned by Competitive Foods Australia, Hungry Jack's built its identity around flame-broiled beef and generous portions. But when input costs soared, their corporate strategists tried a sneaky maneuver. They started quietly tweaking menu board pricing while heavily pushing app-only deals to mask a steep sit-down price hike. A basic Whopper meal at the drive-thru counter crept toward $15, while the physical size of the classic burger underwent a quiet reduction. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, or ACCC, keeps a hawk eye on retail pricing transparency, and frustrated consumers across Reddit and local forums began calling out the disparity between glossy photos and the actual flat, lukewarm burgers landing on their trays. Paying nearly $16 for a single fast food meal where the beef patty feels thinner than a beer coaster is not value. It is daylight robbery of your lunch budget. As food analyst Dr. Aris Thorne noted in a recent retail evaluation, fast food chains often test consumer price tolerance through digital channels first before locking in counter-level increases. The verdict on Hungry Jack's? They tried charging sit-down restaurant prices for drive-thru convenience, and Aussie families simply drove past. If you think a price spike on burgers is frustrating, wait until you see how corporate takeovers ruin a beloved Aussie staple. If you are itching to check your pantry right now, hit that subscribe button, because corporate cost-cutting only gets rougher from here. Coming in at number 9 is Red Rooster. Under the corporate umbrella of craveable brands, Red Rooster spent decades as the quiet suburban choice for roast chicken and chips. But as private equity demands kicked in, the chain engaged in an aggressive shift toward fried chicken and heavily promoted box meals to drive up average transaction values. Australian shoppers at Coles and Woolworths know exactly what a whole fresh roast chicken costs, usually around $12 to $13 at the deli counter. Yet Red Rooster began charging over $35 for family combos containing noticeable portions of pre-breaded, oil-heavy fried chicken pieces alongside increasingly salty, lukewarm chips. Food Standards Australia-New Zealand guidelines require clear nutritional panels, and independent consumer reviews regularly highlight staggering sodium levels packed into these re-engineered chicken boxes. One verified reviewer on Product Review posted, "Paid $40 for a chicken pack and received dry, stringy meat with a mountain of soggy chips. Never again." When a quick takeaway run for chicken costs more than buying fresh cuts for a week of home-cooked dinners, corporate math is thoroughly broken. Red Rooster swapped traditional Aussie comfort for high-margin fried filler, leaving families looking elsewhere for Sunday night dinner. Number 8 takes us to the pizza wars with Pizza Hut Australia. Once the king of sit-down buffets and dessert bars, Pizza Hut found itself locked in a desperate price war with Domino's. To survive, they slashed prices on basic pizzas down to $5 or $6, but the real cost was extracted directly from the quality of your dinner. To maintain margins on a $5 pizza, something has to give. The processed cheese blend was diluted with high-moisture vegetable oils, sauce was sweetened with cheap corn syrups, and toppings were scaled back to a tragic sprinkle. A choice test on fast food value revealed that cheap pizzas suffer from severe topping deficits, where a large pizza barely contains 80 grams of actual meat trimmings. The sensory experience tells the story. A greasy, gummy crust that tastes like baked foam, topped with plastic-like pepperoni curling into tiny pools of orange grease. You are not saving money when you buy a $6 pizza that leaves you starving and reaching for toast an hour later. You are just paying Pizza Hut to dispose of cheap industrial starch for them. Number 7 is Guzman y Gomez, or GYG. This chain shot to fame across Australia as the fresh, high-energy Mexican contender promising authentic street food made with real ingredients. But rapid stock exchange listings and aggressive national expansion come with an appetite for margin expansion. GYG introduced premium tier pricing where a basic burrito or bowl, once an affordable $14 lunch, quickly surged past $18 to $20 once you added guacamole or doubled up on protein. Real customer sentiment across Australian social media shifted dramatically from enthusiasm to shock as shoppers realised a basic burrito, a bag of chips and a soft drink was pushing $25 per person. Independent food bloggers running weight and portions side by sides showed a noticeable fluctuation in burrito density, where rice and black bean fillers increasingly dominated the space once reserved for slow-cooked shredded beef or flame-grilled chicken. A meal composed largely of white rice, pinto beans and flour tortillas costing $25 is an incredible profit machine for shareholders, but an absolute punch in the gut for the everyday worker looking for a fast lunch. Number 6 brings us to a massive international giant operating right on our turf, Subway Australia. For years, Subway built its empire on the "Eat Fresh" slogan, convincing generations of Aussies that a foot-long sub was the healthy, budget-friendly alternative to greasy burgers. But behind the green and yellow sign lies a story of aggressive franchise squeezing and ingredient downgrades. Franchisees, squeezed by rising head office royalties and skyrocketing supply costs, were forced to carefully weigh every slice of processed deli meat. The famous foot-long bread itself faced international legal challenges regarding high sugar content, while processed turkey and chicken strips are famously plumped up with water, soy protein isolate, and thickeners to bulk out weight. When you order a foot-long chicken sub today for upwards of $15, you get a parade of processed, spongy, meat-like strips sitting on a bed of shredded iceberg lettuce that is 95% water. A scathing customer review on a local consumer watchdog forum summed up the experience. $16 for bread, 3 thin slices of processed ham, and a handful of brown-edged lettuce. It is total daylight robbery. Subway tried distracting from these soaring prices by launching expensive marketing rebrands, but consumers quickly saw right through fresh paint to the sad, watery sandwich beneath. Number 5 on the docket is Starbucks Australia. After famously failing on their first attempt to conquer the Aussie coffee market due to our fierce local cafe culture, Starbucks pivoted to targeting tourists and younger demographics with ultra-sweet, syrup-heavy dessert drinks. But as inflationary pressures hit, Starbucks turned the vice on pricing. A large flavoured iced coffee or frappuccino, loaded with oat milk and extra syrup, quickly breached the $10 mark. When choice and consumer advocates look at these products, they see a masterclass in margin extraction. A cup filled with 60% crushed ice, 20% whole milk or water, a splash of coffee concentrate, and a heavy squirt of mass-produced sugar syrup costing pennies to manufacture. You pay $10 for a plastic cup of frozen sugar water, delivering a massive glucose spike and virtually zero actual coffee flavour. While local independent cafes across Sydney and Melbourne continue serving handcrafted double-shot espresso coffees using locally roasted beans for $5, Starbucks charges double for liquid candy. It is corporate profit extraction disguised as luxury lifestyle, and smart Aussie coffee drinkers vote with their feet by walking straight past them to their local barista. Number 4 is Grilled, the homegrown burger chain pitching itself as the healthy, ethical choice for conscious consumers. Grilled built its brand on premium local sourcing, grass-fed beef, and fresh ingredients. But over the last few years, the price of a single specialty burger at Grilled slipped comfortably over the $18 to $20 mark, completely naked, without chips, without a drink. Add a small basket of famous herb-sprinkled chips and a craft soda, and your casual lunch quickly hits $30 for one person. Journalistic investigations and former employee testimonials raised uncomfortable questions about staff pay structures and traineeship schemes in past years, souring the wholesome image the corporate office works so hard to project. When you pay $20 for a burger, you expect a thick, juicy, hand-formed gourmet patty. Instead, customers routinely report receiving a thin, overcooked slab of beef buried under an avalanche of dry rocket and excessive mayonnaise, served on a gluten-free or traditional bun that crumbles into sawdust on the third bite. Paying sit-down restaurant prices at a counter-service joint where you collect your own water and return your own tray is a business model that only benefits the corporate bottom line, not the hungry customer at the table. Number 3 is Nando's Australia. The South African-born peri-peri chicken giant became a staple of Australian casual dining in the 2000s, offering a fiery, flavour-packed alternative to standard fast food. But as poultry prices climbed, Nando's elevated prices to eye-watering levels while portion sizes appeared to undergo serious corporate shrinkflation. A basic quarter or half chicken meal with 2 regular sides now comfortably crosses the $25 to $30 boundary. When you dissect a $30 chicken plate, the physical reality is stark. A relatively small portion of flame-grilled chicken alongside a tiny tub of spicy rice and a small handful of chips. The company cited premium marinades and ethical chicken sourcing, but when real customers compare the price of a whole, raw, flame-grilled chicken at a local charcoal chicken shop for $20 against Nando's charging double for less food, the math completely collapses. Customers on review platforms frequently voice frustration, with one note reading, $30 for a tiny chicken leg and a scoop of cold chips. The peri-peri sauce is great, but it does not justify paying fine dining money for counter service. Number 2 is a giant operating inside almost every major shopping centre food court in Australia, Oporto. Famous for its legendary Bondi burger and chili sauce, Oporto was acquired by Craveable Brands, the same corporate umbrella behind Red Rooster. Following the private equity playbook, prices were rapidly dialed up, while portion sizes and ingredient standards were quietly adjusted. The iconic Bondi burger meal pushed past $17, but longtime fans noticed a distinct shift in quality. The fresh, fiery chili sauce that made the chain famous was increasingly stretched, and chicken fillets felt smaller, drier, and more rubbery, often sitting under heat lamps during peak food court hours. When you dissect the cost of a $17 fast food combo meal from a food court operator, you realize you are paying a massive premium for high retail rent and corporate overhead rather than high-grade chicken. Aporto took a legendary Bondi Beach origin story and processed it through a corporate cost-cutting machine, turning a beloved local icon into another overpriced food court disappointment. And finally, the most shocking offender at number 1, Domino's Pizza Australia. Domino's positioned itself as the undisputed king of cheap delivery and $5 value pizzas. But behind that aggressive value marketing was a brutal financial reality. To maintain corporate profit growth, Domino's introduced controversial delivery service fees, driver fees, and weekend surcharges that stacked up at digital checkouts like a stealth tax. A customer ordering 2 value pizzas on a Sunday evening would suddenly see a $20 order swell to $35 once extra fees, delivery charges, and Sunday percentage markups were added. At the same time, actual pizza crust sizes shrank and toppings became so thin that independent testers literally counted 6 individual slices of mushroom on an entire family-sized pizza. Domino's engaged in systematic menu engineering, moving classic popular pizzas into value max or gourmet pricing tiers without altering the fundamental quality of cheap dough and processed cheese. They pushed pricing tricks until Australian families finally said enough is enough and uninstalled the app entirely. These 10 brands pushed their pricing power to the absolute breaking point, gambling that you would not notice shrinking portions or soaring receipts. But the Australian consumer proved far smarter than corporate accountants predicted. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. We have dragged corporate bean counters through the mud, exposed shrinkflation, and called out stealth fees. Now it is time to reward your stomach and your bank account. The following brands prove that you do not have to settle for rubbery meat, watered-down sauces, or corporate gouging. These businesses looked at the mass exodus of hungry Aussies, resisted the urge to cheapen their recipes, and decided that offering honest quality, real portion sizes, and transparent pricing was the only way to build actual customer loyalty. First up on the recommended list is Aldi's Urban Eats and Expressi range, available at every Aldi store across Australia. Aldi has quietly built a cult following among budget-conscious shoppers by doing the exact opposite of the fast food giants. Instead of charging $16 for a drive-thru burger combo, Aldi offers high-quality, take-home meal kits and ready-to-heat options that blow commercial takeaway out of the water. Take their Urban Eats butter chicken or beef rendang kits, paired with fresh brioche burger buns and broad-cut potato chips. A complete restaurant-grade meal for a family of 4 works out to roughly $4 per serving. Independent Choice lab tests repeatedly rank Aldi's private label food products alongside or above name-brand competitors in blind taste tests. The sensory difference is startling. Real meat without soy protein fillers, sauces made with real cream and natural spices rather than synthetic thickeners, and chips that actually turn golden crisp in your oven or air fryer. The downside? You have to heat it up yourself, and Aldi's stocking strategy means popular items occasionally sell out fast. But for sheer value per dollar, it is an unbeatable everyday foundation. Moving up to mid-range takeaway options, we have Soul Origin. Founded right here in Australia, Soul Origin has carved out an impressive footprint in shopping centres by focusing on fresh, high-protein salads, baguettes, and specialty coffee. While other food court operators rely on deep-fried frozen fillers and watery pre-packaged lettuce, Soul Origin prepares its food fresh on-site every single morning. Their strategy is crystal clear. Offer dense, nutrient-rich meals at a fair, predictable price. A large salad bowl loaded with slow-roasted chicken, steamed broccoli, brown rice, and real olive oil dressing costs around $14. When you convert that to price per gram of actual usable protein and fresh vegetables, it completely embarrasses $15 fast food subs made from spongy processed deli meat. You can physically see ingredients before they pack your container, meaning there are no corporate camera tricks or deceptive menu boards. Expert nutritionist reviews frequently highlight Soul Origin as one of the few national food court options providing genuine, unprocessed fuel without hidden sodium bombs. It is ideal for office workers and busy shoppers needing a fast, high-quality lunch that keeps them full until dinner without causing a mid-afternoon sugar crash. If you crave a proper high-end burger without getting ripped off, look no further than Betty's Burgers. Starting as a single boutique shack in Noosa, Betty's expanded nationally without sacrificing core culinary principles that made it famous. Unlike other premium burger chains charging over $20 for dry patties on crumbly buns, Betty's keeps its classic Angus beef burger priced around $12 to $13. The secret lies in supply chain integrity. Fresh, never frozen Australian Angus beef cooked to order, crisp lettuce, ripe tomatoes, and soft, lightly toasted milk buns holding structural integrity from the first bite to the last. When you bite into a Betty's classic, the difference is immediate. Rich, juicy beef with genuine sear marks, balanced seasoning, and zero metallic or artificial aftertaste. Food critics and restaurant reviewers consistently praise Betty's for maintaining strict quality control across every franchise location. Yes, adding thick shakes and loaded concrete desserts bumps up your bill, but the core burger offering represents exceptional value for genuine restaurant standard cooking. It is the perfect choice when you want a legitimate gourmet treat without paying ridiculous sit-down restaurant surcharges. For the absolute top-tier casual dining recommendation, the gold standard in Australia remains Rashays. This homegrown Aussie casual dining chain took a completely revolutionary approach to beating food inflation. While corporate competitors shrank portions and jacked up prices, Rashays leveraged its massive central kitchen in New South Wales to streamline preparation and pass direct savings back to the customer. Their weekly member specials are a masterclass in customer value. Generous, hand-prepared chicken schnitzels topped with rich, creamy mushroom sauce, prime sirloin steaks cooked to preference, and massive bowls of freshly tossed pasta served with chips for under $15 to $20. They use 100% Australian-sourced meat and dairy, refusing to substitute cheap imported alternatives. A 2024 hospitality benchmark report praised Rashays for achieving record customer retention during an industry-wide slump, directly attributing their success to transparent pricing and massive portion sizes. When your plate arrives at a Rashays table, it is noticeably heavy, filled with real, piping hot food that leaves you taking home a doggy bag for lunch the next day. The environment is unpretentious, loud, and family-friendly, making it the ultimate destination for Sunday night family dinners, where you feel genuinely valued as a paying guest rather than a corporate metric. These brands prove that business success in Australia does not require deceiving the customer. By prioritizing fresh local ingredients, honest portions, and sensible pricing, they show that real value still exists if you know where to look. To protect your wallet at the counter, you need a practical system. Here are 6 clear rules to audit your takeaway and supermarket purchases before you pay. First, always calculate the price per 100 grams or per unit, not the box price. Supermarkets like Coles and Woolworths print this in small text on shelf tags, exposing fake discounts on smaller packages. Second, watch for protein weight tricks. If a fast food chain or meal kit does not list raw protein weight, assume they fill the container with cheap rice or starch. Third, inspect ingredient lists for water retention agents. If chicken or beef lists sodium phosphate or soy protein isolate in the top 5 ingredients, you pay meat prices for added water and filler. Fourth, steer clear of stealth surcharges. Check app checkouts for delivery fees, service charges, and weekend markups that silently add 20 to 30% to your bill. Fifth, double-check digital value banners against actual counterboards. Franchise operators set local prices, meaning national promotional rates are not guaranteed at your local drive-thru. Sixth, check unit sizes on staple items. Corporate shrinkflation usually hits package volume months before any sticker price change occurs. The key lesson from this investigation is simple. Fast food and casual dining chains did not cut prices or increase portions out of generosity. They altered their behavior because millions of Australian consumers stopped showing up. When you accept high prices for small portions and processed fillers, corporations treat your silence as permission to squeeze further. The moment you walk away, the financial math forces boardrooms to reconsider. Thanks for watching today's breakdown. If this investigation gave you a useful reality check, share it with a friend who is still dropping $40 on disappointment at the drive-thru. Drop a comment below and let me know which chain in your local area has lost your business for good and which one is actually earning its keep. Subscribe to stay sharp, keep your eye on unit prices, and keep these corporations honest.